Hey everyone, welcome back to the Conversations with Adrian podcast. Today, I'm joined by Danny Morel. Danny, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
It's my pleasure. It's a real pleasure when people like yourself say yes to podcasts like this. I don't really see many podcasts of you specifically. I had to kind of like really look around the interwebs to see whether someone's actually interviewed Danny Morel because I've listened to so much of your interviews already.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do too many. I really value my time. So I just kind of like pick and choose, and whatever feels right, I do, and what doesn't, I don't. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Fair call. Um, Do you ever listen to someone so much that you feel like you're familiar with them? Do you have a favorite go-to podcast or someone that you listen to on a regular basis?
I used to, but now, quite frankly, I don't, man. I find more, I'm a clearer channel for the message that I'm trying to bring forward when this is pretty quiet, to be honest. So I yeah, I stay pretty silent, quite frankly, when it comes to the consumption of material.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting. I've listened to obviously you don't know me from a bar or so, but I've listened to so many of your podcasts over the last couple of years. So when I see you, it's almost like I'm seeing, a friend or someone that I'm really familiar with. You get that?
I get that for sure, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've got a bunch to talk about. There's a few things that I really love to, questions I love to ask you. We're very similar in a lot of respects too. Like I know you used to be a real estate agent. I used to be a real estate agent.
Ah,
Um, yeah, you're into coaching. I'm into coaching. We're both good looking. Like, there's so many similarities. So, I mean, it's an interesting parallel to draw upon your life experience and something that I've gone through as well.
yeah, let's rock and roll. Let's do it, man. I'm an open
Yeah, for
book.
sure. Well, I first like to really get to know you a little bit more. I mean, I understand there's obviously a transition from you going from the real estate community or the real estate space into coaching and into the self-development and things like that. Can you think about a time that was like the catalyst for you to make that shift or to make the change? Or do you feel like it was a number of different things that were kind of lighting the way as you went along?
If I'm honest, I don't, it's not a time, or it's not many things. It's just authenticity, really. Like I don't know how to do anything that doesn't feel authentic or that isn't truth. So, and I think that's why so many people resonate with the message, quite frankly, because when I share, I'm speaking about some pretty universal truths, that most people don't share, And so what it was for me, man, quite frankly, was that I was passionate about real estate until I wasn't.
Mm,
And I feel like where most people just keep doing things for the sake of doing them, I think one of my giftings is that I really honor like what I feel, and I really honor, what is inspiring me, and I really honor the natural ebbs and flows of my journey. So you're right. I was selling real estate. I had a big real estate seminar. I had a big real estate company. We were doing $1 billion in annual sales. And then
wow.
next thing, it just, when I started my spiritual awakening, I just thought, what on earth am I doing talking about something as small as real estate when human beings are walking around like I was, chasing power, chasing success, chasing glamour, in unhappy marriages, overweight, basically miserable. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like
Mm.
it felt as though I was talking about something that no longer mattered to me. And then I couldn't do it. Because if you really want to help people, you got to come from the heart. So that's how it happened for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think there are definitely cycles in life. Would you agree? I mean, I feel in my own personal life that there's almost like this cycle of I've done things, or I've done this thing in my life, or this, this real estate period, or this part of my journey is kind of like dying to a degree, or it's over. And I've noticed that over particularly the last probably 20 years, that this cycle seems to be kind of 7 to 10 years. I feel like it's like there's something within me that needs a change, it needs excitement, it needs adventure, and I need to go to that next calling. Do you find the same or not?
Well, I would say yes. However, I would say, if you're constantly in that space, then you're never mastering anything. And
Okay.
I think that with so much information and with so much, easy information at everybody's hands right nowadays, it's like, I think it's causing a lot of confusion, quite frankly. So people will come to me and they'll say, you know what, I no longer want, I've been doing this business and I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do this business now. And I go, cool. So let's talk. Like, how is this business going for you? It's going great. I make 100 grand a year. Okay, fantastic. Um, what are the best people at that industry doing? Oh, well, the best do like 2 or 3 million a year. So then you never actually mastered the thing that you're doing. Well, no. Well, if you never actually mastered the thing that you're doing, then you have to understand that where you go, you go. So if you started something, if you started a career, if you started a business and you're already thinking about doing something else before you took that business or that career to its maximum potential, then what you are teaching your subconscious mind is that it's easier to leave it and look somewhere else. But let me remind you, like, where you go is where you go. And so if you don't learn to maximize something, then you're never going to learn to maximize something. And the answer is always going to be not to give the thing that you're doing your very best, but instead to try to find something new. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why human beings are not successful nowadays. They're not successful because they're always looking for a different answer, right? So like in my case, for example, I knew 10 years before I started my business that it wasn't what I wanted to do forever. But I promised myself, I said, before I do anything else, I'm going to be the best there is in this thing that I'm doing right now. No cop outs, no easy access, no easy outs. I'm going to push myself here. And so I pushed myself and I wrote a goal. It was 1 billion in annual sales. And I remember every one of our offices had like a thermometer and we didn't hit it like for 4 years in a row. Like, we didn't hit it. But every year we'd put the thermometer back up every year because like, I ain't going nowhere until I hit this damn goal. And then once I hit it, it was like no one else hit that. I was one of the biggest in my industry, in my area. And only then did I feel like, you know what? I'm at peace. I did it. I mastered it. And now it's time for me to go to something else.
Hmm. That's so interesting. I think there's a few parallels that I draw from that. There's also like, do you ever get to a point where you feel like that's enough, or there's no more limit, or do you feel like there's something higher for me to serve? Is that sort of where your calling come from or not?
No, I mean, I think to everybody's journey is different.
Mm,
I think I was speaking specifically about like how so many people are looking for the next best thing. My challenge to everybody is before you look for the next best thing, just ask yourself if you've mastered the thing that you promised yourself that maybe 5, 6 years ago you were so excited about that you told yourself that you were going to make it big in, right? Because the easy way out is to get out, right? And this is the same thing in everything. This is the same thing in health at the gym. This is the same thing in relationships with your partner. This is the same thing in everything that you do. And I think there's something to be said about that, right? And and so yeah, then the second thing is just honor your truth. You know, I went through, again, everybody's journey is different, but I went through such a seismic shift in my being. I was awakened to things that I know for a fact human beings, no one I had ever met in my 44 or 3 years of life at that time had ever been exposed to. And it just rocked my world. And that, like, it literally, it's like I just thought to myself, if I've been living my life like this, miserable, basically for my whole life, then who else is out there living like this? And I was like, oh my God, I want to share this with people. And so it just felt like it was time for me, basically.
Mm. Within that space though, like there is a lot of people that I think have a really good ability to kind of put on a good show when it comes to Instagram or to YouTube or to, putting on a persona, and their I guess their business persona is different from their personal persona. You following me? So
A 1 trillion%. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I think something that I appreciate about you, and you're quite vulnerable when it comes to sharing a part of your journey. And there's a couple of things that I'd love to talk to, because there's a vulnerability about you that is endearing. There's things that you'll say in the past that you'll correct yourself and say, you know what, I said this in the past and my position has changed. But I think the
Yeah.
most thing, the most, the best quality about you that I find is, I think what you embody is something that I personally admire, from one man to another. You're kind of living through your journey and expressing it to others in the most authentic and sincere way that you possibly can. You with me so far?
Because, brother, that's the truth. I feel like so many of us are so worried about what other people think, are so worried about how other people react, that we don't even know who we are. We don't even know what we think. We don't even know what we want. Half of the world is programmed to want things that they don't even want. It's just they've been fed with enough advertisements, enough message that they're not enough by themselves and within themselves and the way that they are, that they're constantly looking for more outside of themselves. And so I think what you're alluding to is that it's a return to truth. If you're going through something, share it, because you never know how your sharing of that thing could be the thing that helps somebody else. But what the ego does is, the ego doesn't want you to share anything. The ego is built on fear, control, and power, which happens to be the energy of the 3D world. The ego wants to keep you in the box that it's put you in. The ego is afraid of change. The ego is afraid of speaking your truth. The ego is afraid of letting go of its control over your life. How many human beings do we know that never said their truth, that never spoke their truth, and pass away? I know family members like this that stayed in lives that they weren't happy with, but they were afraid of what could happen if they actually decided to make a change, or whatever the case may be.
Mm,
I
yeah.
think that's real awakening. Real awakening is when you can honor the fact that you're on a journey, and that there's going to be ebbs and flows to that journey. And one day you might think one day thing, and the other day you might think another, but it's your truth, and you're okay with that, because you're not sharing your truth for out there. You're sharing your truth from within here.
So powerful. I think that there's a few things that come to mind. Like when you are sharing your truth, I find that there is a healing that is projected outwardly, and it's also mirrored back in. Does that make sense?
So,
It's almost cathartic to a degree, where you're allowing yourself to be your most vulnerable and you're most susceptible to ridicule and to pushback and things like that. But in that process, it kind of releases an energetic block. But it does that in two ways. Like, there's sort of like a mirror. I'm projecting it out there and getting it off my chest, so to speak. It heals me, but then the person receiving that is also feeling like a part of them is healed, because they are now connected with you on a level that they perhaps were, like you said, ashamed to maybe speak their truth. But because you're doing it, you're almost almost like a conduit through them. You're acting as like a healing conduit. You with me?
That's right. Absolutely. It's one of the most powerful moments in ceremony. So, whenever you are in ceremony with ayahuasca or with mushrooms, at the end of the ceremony, we sit in a circle and everybody shares what happened in their journey. And for some people, they go through a very deep process. Part of the transformation is the courage to share that process. And what happens when someone shares that process is there's medicine being given in so many ways. Number one, the medicine of sharing, the medicine of releasing, the medicine of letting go of that thing that you've been so afraid to share, and you finally get to let go of that. Number two, the medicine of your courage, the medicine that is your courage in sharing, that someone else gets to see, oh my God, like that person's not afraid to share. Why would I be afraid to share? Right. And then number three, the medicine that your sharing gave to that other person. And now they actually get to share from their story based off of the fact that they saw you share from their story. You see, and this is the most beautiful thing about the ceremony of life, is that the same way human beings hurt us is the same way that human beings can be a part of our healing when we have the courage to allow them to be a part of it.
Mm, yeah, that resonates so much. I think there's a part of my own experience where um, I guess I've had to let go of the fear of being judged and the fear of being like
Right.
ridiculed and shamed and things like that. And it's almost the more you do it, the more resilience, the more empowerment. It's almost like it feeds a part of you that is I guess has the highest threshold to stress and pressure and all of those sorts of things.
Okay, I want to speak to that. That right there is all of life,
Mm.
because all of life, all success in life, all freedom in life, all power in life, all joy and happiness in life lies in that moment right there, where you get to look at the fear that lives within you, where you get to look at the fear of being judged, of being ridiculed, of being attacked, of being left, of being ostracized by society, whatever the case may be. And you get to look at that fear within you and you get to say, no, I don't care anymore. Right? I don't care anymore. Like, I want to share. I want to speak out my truth, right? And something happens when you do that. Because when you do that, what you don't realize as a human being is that fear is an energy. It's not just being afraid of making a video, right? It's not just being afraid of hiring your first employee. It's not just being afraid of starting your first business. It's not just being afraid of asking the girl out. It's not just being afraid of the rejection. It's not just being afraid of lifting the heavy weight. Fear is everywhere, or fear is nowhere. And what most human beings don't understand is that right there, that if fear is showing up in one area of your life, trust me, it is showing up in every area of your life in
Mm.
one way, shape, or form. And that is why human beings are not free. That is why human beings are ill. That is why human beings are not happy in relationship. And that is why human beings have such a hard time with financial freedom. And until they have the courage to let go of that fear of judgment and to just speak their truth, they'll forever be in that cage.
Yeah, love it. The thing that I'm getting from you though, Danny, is like it's you're taking power back. And I think
Right.
a lot of society and humanity has abdicated and like
Taking
offered
of
their
your power.
yeah. And but also I'm willing to give this away to a like I guess a higher power. So it's almost like the force or that energy or that place within myself that is a whole complete knowing I'm 100% abundant from this space
Right.
is a very powerful and unique position to be in, particularly with like I was raised as a Catholic. So in the Catholic
Oh,
Church,
now
obviously,
we're
you
gonna
know.
start. Now we're gonna start talking. Now we're gonna start talking.
So it's like I'm giving my power away to God. Okay. And so I have a feeling we're on the same page with this, but it's
Well, who
of,
you've been told God is.
of who I've been told God is. And so, yeah, of course. And so I'm saying, well, I've been taught, give this away because trust in him, he will deliver and he's got control of the master plan. And so it causes confusion because you're living half your life thinking, well, if he's got control, then what the fuck is going on with all of this stuff that's going wrong? Like I don't understand. And so then when you start to say, I'm going to exclude that person from my life and I'm going to take control of my own and be my own savior, then there's an interesting dichotomy at play because you start to realize that you are in control of every decision and every outcome that you create, but also there is something higher than you, which is circling, manipulating, controlling, complementing. Like it's kind of like you're then melding with an energy and a frequency and a higher power that you could almost say is godlike.
What do you want to know?
Yeah. Give it to me. I want to know it all. I think
Listen,
there's
if you ask the right questions, I'll tell you the right answers.
okay. I'll give you my perspective on
And
things.
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. When it comes to this conversation, I realize that everyone is on a journey, right? So if the me of 10 years ago would have heard the me of today speaking about God and spirituality, I would have told me today that I'm the devil and the Antichrist rolled up into one, straight up,
Yeah.
straight up. Right? I'm just being honest. So as a result of that, I also understand that all religion, all conversation about God here in the 3D world is in the mind. It's in the mind. It cannot possibly be in the heart. Because if it were in the heart is the space of freedom, acceptance. The heart is the space of no separation. The heart is the space that cannot be controlled. The heart is the space of in belief. There is no belief in the heart. The heart is universal. Only the mind can be programmed. Only the mind can control. Only the mind can believe. Only the mind can be told what to believe. And only the mind can defend that belief so much that it makes everybody else that believes something different wrong. That is called the ego. That is called the ego. And that's when you're ready to awaken, it first starts with the heart. The heart has to get to a space where the heart goes, okay, wait a minute. Maybe there's something else. Maybe it has to open from the heart. And that's why spiritual awakening normally happens after death, after a breakup, after a loss of a career, because something has to bring you to your knees for you to drop out of this and into this. And when the heart is open, then we can start having a real conversation about real spirituality.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm totally with you. And it's almost like everything is spawned out of darkness, and out of darkness you come to the light. So I mean it's you never really realize the true potential and the fruits of your labor in the greatest moments. They're the moments that you celebrate, you're having a great time, and nothing could phase you. But in your darkest moments of life is when you realize what is the truth and what is true to you, what you need to do to get out of that situation, who you need to contact, who you need to become in order to achieve the things that you want. It's in those moments that are in the deepest, darkest hours of our life.
Do you want to trip on it? That's why they call darkness the feminine.
Mm.
That's why when you do ayahuasca, you do it in the dark. The sun is the masculine. The moon is the feminine. The light is the masculine. The darkness is the feminine.
Wow.
Darkness is the heart. When you meditate and you truly tap into nothingness, You're no one, no thing, nowhere. You're no race. You're no nothing. You're in darkness. You're back. You're back to universal truth. You're back to infinite possibility. You're back to infinite abundance. And that's why the system here in the 3D world teaches you to be afraid of the dark. Because what it's really programming you to be is afraid of yourself.
Yeah.
Afraid of the truth of who and what you really are. That's how deep the program is.
That programming, Danny, is something that it's almost like a tug of war. I've had experiences within my life, and particularly in times where you are at those critical low moments. I remember in between my firstborn son and my secondborn, we lost a little girl, and she was about 17 weeks at that point. 17 weeks in gestation, and so it was just one of those deeply heart and gut wrenching moments. And at that time of my life, I was probably the worst human being that I could possibly be at that time. And so it's the reason why I tell you that story is because it's one of those things where you start to question why, and you start to question that higher power, as in, what is it that is a force beyond my acknowledgement or beyond my control that would cause such heartache and such such disaster or whatever it may be to my life. What have I done to deserve this? So in my own evolution, I discovered that my own power was an energy and a frequency that I could tap into. So in those deep, dark meditations, in those moments where I am conversing with this higher version of something, at that time, I'm like, my own voice is coming back. So my understanding is that, or my realization was that when I talk to this higher version, it's Adrian that comes back and has a conversation with me. When I start to feel into my heart and start to live congruently and passionately and treat other people in a way that I would like to be treated, it's one of those things that for me, I realize that I am at the center of all of this. I am my own universe. I am my own vibration. I am the God within that I've been seeking the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You with me?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the confusing part about religion is that it puts God outside of you. And the pushback that I get when I tell people that God is within is what you just said before. You're the Antichrist. You will pay penance. You'll realize when he comes back again and tells you that you're wrong. And so I always get like the
You need to
pushback.
understand something. You need
Yeah,
to understand that that's okay. You
I
need
get
to
it.
understand that that's part of the journey. You need to understand that at one point in time, you would have said the exact same thing. You need to understand that
Yeah.
people who say things like this, they're just they haven't got. But by the way, I don't mean this from spiritual hierarchy or whatever the case may be. I'm just talking energetics, right? Energetics, right? When a human being is living in the frequency and energy of guilt and fear, they are more likely to be in a religion, whatever that religion is. I am not speaking badly or negatively, but if you just look at energetics and if you look at, Dr. David Hawkins' work, for example, and you look and you get to love, like I just got to ask this question, like, if you were living in the frequency of love, then how could you be separate from your brothers and sisters? How could you believe one thing and they believe another? If you were looking in the frequency, living in the frequency of love, how could you say that someone is the devil or the antichrist, or that they're going to be judged when they die or whatever the case? How could you even say that? How could you even say all of that? Sounds like guilt. because they're living in the energy of guilt. So when you're living in the frequency and the energy of guilt, guess what happens? It is more likely that you will believe this story. So for me, it's like when someone says that kind of stuff, it's like I was there. I was that guy. I was that guy that I was the greatest defender of Christianity and the Bible, and Jesus is coming to save me one day. And if I don't say the little prayer, I'm going to hell. And I was the guy. I was baptizing people in the water. I was leaving outreaches. True story. The biggest outreaches. Really? Everything I do big. So if I was going to believe, I was going to believe big.
Wow. I wasn't. I was the guy that was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, just questioning, like, it doesn't make sense to me. None of this makes sense.
But you see, but then it stopped making sense to me. You know when it stopped making sense to me? It stopped making sense to me when here I am, I'm a Hispanic boy that came from the ghetto, that had no money, and that would walk down the street and look at this like neighborhood where all the rich people live. And I went, you know, someday I'm going to live there. And 2 years later, I was living there. What? How does this happen? How does this happen? I'm that kid that, you know, was living in a 2-bedroom apartment or on welfare and who said, you know, I'm going to buy my mom a house by the time I'm 21. And I buy my mom a house by the time I'm 21. I was that kid that, you know, and I'm bringing up money things, by the way, because that's where I was back then in life. That was my goal, right? I'm that kid that, you know, no one in my family made more than 100 grand a year. And by the time I'm 24, 25, I'm making, I don't know, $500,000 a year.
Wow.
I was that kid that would go to church and people would go, oh my God, God has blessed you so much. And I would say, yes, he has. And my mind would go, wait a minute. Well, aren't you the one that walked by the neighborhood and said you were going to live there? Aren't you the one that said that you aren't you? And then I go, whoa, no, I can't think that. No, I can't. Whoa, I can't. You know what I'm saying? And that's why my very first ceremony with ayahuasca, that I drank that cup and I said, I want to know truth. I want to know truth. I don't want to hear from somebody else. By the way, just because I'm saying it doesn't make it right. You got to go find that out on your own. You got to go find it out in your own energy, in your own being. Just because I'm saying it, I'm just another guy. Just like the preacher, just like the rabbi, just like the whatever, right? That's the shortcut. No. You got to go deep. You got to go have that spiritual experience. You got to get past the fear, right? The fear of the unknown. And you got to go ask the question, I want to know truth. And guess what I know? I know Source will meet you at that question, because not everybody is here on this soul's journey to know the truth. Because it's so much easier to just follow what somebody else is telling you. It's so much easier to wait because that guy says to wait because someday that guy is coming back to save you because that guy died for your sins. Wait, what if there's no such thing as sin? What if sin doesn't even exist? What if all along it's just you? It's just you. And there's the good parts of you and there's the dark parts of you. There's the light in you and there's the darkness in you. There's the masculine in you and there's the feminine in you. What if all along it was just you? And what if all along you were told that someone died for your sins? Now I'm getting deep. Fuck it, let's go. What if all along you were told that someone died for your sins? Doesn't that sound a lot like guilt?
Mm-hmm.
When you're told that someone said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one can get to the Father but me. Doesn't that sound like, just picture that. Picture that. Picture you trying to, I don't know, go into a club and someone standing there saying, I'm the only way you can get in and no one can get in through me. What would you say? What would you say? You would say, that fucking guy has a big ego. That's what you would say. Yeah. Well, of course it's ego. Because ego is the mind, and the mind is the only thing that can be controlled. The mind is the only thing that can be programmed. Heart, love, that's what Jesus actually was. Jesus would never, ever, ever say those words because Jesus was love. And love doesn't say that. Love says, love doesn't even speak. Love just accepts.
I like it. With your experience so far, so you've obviously got this huge passion and huge heart and higher calling to influence others, to share the message and your experience. I want to ask you two questions. The first one, I want to touch back on the ayahuasca. You're huge. Every time I listen to one of your podcasts, you're always mentioning plant medicine or mushrooms or ayahuasca and things like that. Do you think that you could have been the person that you are today
Absolutely
without
no
it?
way on earth. No,
Why? Why?
because it's impossible. It's designed that way. God literally, listen to me. It all depends how deep you want to go.
Mm,
It all depends how much truth you want to see. It all depends how much you want to know, how much you want to heal. I'm crazy. I wanted to go all the way in because, quite frankly, when you remove fear, why wouldn't you? Quite frankly,
sure.
right? The only thing stopping anyone from going, it's just the fear. Now, mind you, listen, please, if you're listening to this, check with your doctors because it's not for everybody, you know. Whatever I'm supposed to say there, I guess just hear it. But no, I would no. We as humanity are so deep in the ego that's why we need the plant medicine. And anyone who's ever sat with the medicine will come on this show and tell you the exact same thing. Anyone who hasn't will say, no, you don't need that shit. No, you don't need that. No, you can do it with meditation. I've hosted, I've done I've had 1,000 people in the room trying to get them there through meditation, right? I've been at a Joe before I started doing my work. I've been at a Joe Dispenza retreat in the back of the room, and this was after I did ayahuasca. It was after I did medicine, and I remember, hey, did you guys feel anything? And everyone was like, no.
Really? Wow.
And then I would start asking people, right? Well, what if I did a retreat? What if, like, this is where I started getting my ideas. What if I did a retreat where we did some meditation, but we gave you a little microdose? Everyone was like, sign me up, I'm in. Breath work is different. Yes, breath work you can get, which is why we do what we do at Awaken. Absolutely. And yes, when people come to Awaken, yes, people change their lives. Absolutely. But I'm just telling you, even from that, there's more to go.
Yeah. All right. With
Sorry to burst your bubble, brother, but I gotta tell you.
you're not bursting. You're helping me. I guess it's definitely a journey that that I feel is knocking at my door on a more than regular basis. And this is just
Here's what I promise you, Adrian. I promise you that if you go, I send everybody to reunionexperience.org, right? Go to Reunion. Just go for a week. After that week, here's what I guarantee you. You will send me a message on Instagram, like thousands of people do, by the way, now. And it will sound a little bit like this. Oh my God, I get it now. I understand everything that you were saying. Oh my God, my life has changed forever. I now finally can see. Everything is healed. Everything is, oh my God, I get it now. Thank you so much. And if you don't do that, I'll pay your house off. I'll buy you a mansion wherever you want to live. I can make that gamble and I can make that bet because I am telling you infinite truth is what I'm telling you.
As you're speaking in my mind, I've got this little green tick that just says, just off you go.
But listen. Okay, and I have to tell you something. I am who I am. Maybe that's why people resonate with my message. Maybe that's why people why we grow, that maybe that's why we have these events, or maybe I'm crazy, I don't know. But I know there's a lot of people out there in the spiritual community that if they were watching this right now, they first, they don't like me, and that's for another reason. But they were saying, well, it's not for everybody, and they don't wait. I'm just telling you, you're asking me, so I'm telling you the truth that I feel I have to share.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me what's on your mind in terms of where you see yourself with the mission that you're on. What's your grand plan? What's something that you sit back and you self-contemplate and you maybe meditate on? How far does your vision go? Can you share that with me?
I mean, if you really pay attention, if you really pay attention to everything happening in the world right now, if you really look at what happened and what everyone got away with COVID, if you really see what's happening with AI, if you really see what's happening with politics right now, you'll see that the world is being controlled by power, greed, darkness, straight up. But also, if you really pay attention, you'll see that more and more people are starting to awaken. So there's like a thing going on right now at this time in history.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to ask me, one side is going to win. I'm just here to guide people back to their hearts. And when that happens, everything will be fine.
I like that. I think the COVID was a fucking wild time. Like, I know what their agenda is.
You guys in Australia got it. Oh my God.
We got smashed. We got fucking
Yeah, man. I don't know. I to be honest with you, I would have started swimming if I lived in Australia. No one controls me like that. I can't handle that. I can't operate like that. Seriously.
It got close. It was wild. I remember having conversations with my kids and just saying, if this ever happens at school, and if we get to this point, just remember, I remember coming home, Danny, and saying, listen, no one's taking this shit. And I don't give a fuck if I'm living with 3 kids in my car. It's not going to happen. It got wild. I remember having conversations with my kids that in a million years, I never thought I would be having this conversation.
I remember thinking, no, it's so true. I remember thinking if I was the last human on earth, I'm not taking that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I was going to die.
If I had my back against my wall with my wife, my kids behind me, and they came in, I'm getting a gun. There is absolutely, because I knew the energy of it. And by the way, listen, from love, if you took it, this is no shame. This is just hopefully you understand this is part of fear and love. Hopefully you understand now. Hopefully you see that you have the ability to provide health for yourself. And you also have the ability to disconnect from the energy of fear, and you have the ability to make choices for yourself. Because with everything coming out now, it was basically all just a sham, basically. It's like, I would just hope that human beings look at it and go, okay, well, when it happens again, for me and my family, I have to be ready this time. If I wasn't ready, no problem. Next time I'm going to be ready, you know?
Yeah, I think that it definitely created that mass awakening that you're talking about. I think that people like you and I need to come from a new level of compassion. I feel that most people they did it because they were forced to. They did it because they didn't feel like they had an alternative, and they were held over a barrel. So I have complete sympathy and understanding for all of those people. I think there are very few people that were adamant and still are adamant that it was just the best thing going around, and it saved lives and all that kind of stuff. So, but I do feel that the messages that you're carrying across in terms of bringing people back to their heart and understanding that they have the power inwardly and collectively. We are a
Right.
force to be reckoned with.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Danny, it's been such a great talk to you with you, mate. I really appreciate your time. I know how valuable it is. If people want to find out more about you, whereabouts would they go and see some information?
Instagram, TikTok, Danny Morel. Our event Awaken is a game changer for people. We are coming to Australia eventually because I don't know how this happened, but one of our biggest audiences is in Australia. And so, not this year, but maybe next year, we're going to be coming, and we're going to be excited to come because I never thought I'd go to Australia, but everything I see of it is beautiful. Like I
Yes.
literally want to like stay for 3 weeks, vacation, visit all the coasts, stay at all the beautiful hotels, and just enjoy it. Yeah.
You'll love it here, buddy. It's such a fucking great country and just beautiful beaches and coastal areas and things like that. I think coming from where you are in Austin, I think Austin, Texas, you'll definitely be pleased with what you see. But I look forward to seeing you here. I will definitely come along to Awaken. I think that'd be great. And if you ever need any help in any way, shape, or form, just don't be afraid to reach out.
Good, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. Look forward to talking with you real soon and have a great day.
So, man, take
See
care.
you, bud.